Good morning and welcome to the Point. This week there was a resignation in the House of Representatives here in the state of Michigan. It wasn't unexpected. Brandon Dillon from Grand Rapids resigned his seat to take a job, not just any job, but to become chairman of the Michigan Democratic Party. We sat down to talk with him about what it's like leaving the House of Representatives and what it will be like to lead the entire party for the state of Michigan. Here's that conversation. Well, let's start with the obvious question. You're transitioning from being an elected official serving the State House of Representatives to the chairman of the Michigan Democratic Party. Congratulations on your selection for that. What does that move mean? Because I know you've liked serving over in the House.
Right.
I know your new job is going to come with a lot of challenges, but what's it like to be leaving the House?
It's tough. It's a great job. I mean, I've told people there's no better job in the state of Michigan than being a state representative or maybe even a state senator. You get to meet people from all over the state, people with different viewpoints, from all walks of life, people from all over the country that you'd never get to meet, and you get a chance to help make decisions that are going to be important to people. So I'm going to miss it. I just feel like, given where I am now and the opportunity I have to be chair of the party, that I'm going to have an ability to help get more people elected that hopefully think like me and can help move good policy forward.
You're a student of politics. You've worked in a congressional office. There's a picture of you in your office, I believe, a very young Brandon Dillon with Teddy Kennedy. I mean, there's a lot of history and background that goes with who you are and your political makeup. But was being chairman of the Michigan Democratic Party something that you had kind of penciled in, or was this one of those convergence of events with Lon Johnson, the former chairman, deciding he was going to run, probably to nobody's surprise, for that congressional seat, and the fact that you were term limited coming into this cycle? Was this just something that kind of came together rather than something you planned?
Yeah, it just came together. I really wasn't sure what I was going to do after my term was up. I thought about other opportunities in public service or maybe entering the private sector, but when I had heard that Lon was considering stepping down and that he was likely to pursue the Democratic nomination in the 1st District, I started having some conversations with people about what they thought the next steps were, and quickly came to the conclusion that I thought I could add something to the party and could add something to helping other Democrats in the state. So those conversations escalated pretty quickly. As you know, it was a very short time frame, and on July 11th I was elected and have hit the ground running so far, and just trying to make sure that I'm talking to as many people around the state as possible really right now.
I want to talk to you about your vision and what the job is and all of that, but let's just talk about the last 5 years that you've been in the State House. It has been a time that has seen a fair amount of partisan friction, but as I am quick to add, it also means that there's been a lot of times that Republicans and Democrats have worked together, because a lot of things get done in a bipartisan way. What do you take away from that experience? I know you said it was a great job, but what do you take away in terms of the way our government functions?
Well, first of all, it was very frustrating at times to be in the minority. And in fact, when Republicans controlled all levels of government, there were few opportunities for Democrats to have a real input into public policy. But I do think the times when we did bipartisan work, whether it was Medicaid expansion, whether it was coming together around passing an education budget this time, that the policies are much better. I think having a strong Democratic Party is important to the overall political process, because when you have an imbalance on one side or the other, I think it makes for bad policy. So the times we were able to come together and work together and Republicans needed Democrats to pass things, I think we actually got better policy. But my focus now is to be able to make sure that hopefully the balance of power will be shifted a little bit more, or at least we can have some sort of divided government after 2016, so that I think will be more reflective of where people are in the state and the diverse opinions that they have.
And so people understand, 2016 on a state level only represents the opportunity to change seats in the House. The Senate is not up, the governor is not up, the constitutional offices are not up. So those are your challenges. And that probably centers on, realistically, a dozen House seats across the state that are usually considered in play. Is that fair?
Yeah, maybe a few more this time, given that some of the seats Republicans won in 2010 during that wave election are going to be open this year. So there are seats that Republicans have held that either have a mild Democratic base or are pretty much 50-50. So I think what's competitive might be a little bit larger this year, but I know that Representative Greimel and others in the House are working hard to recruit candidates, get them ready for that. We still have a presidential campaign that we've got to run and hopefully win here in Michigan, and I'm confident that we'll do that. But building on 2016 and then going into 2018, where you're going to have everything up that year, which will really determine what's going to happen in 2020, which is the big year because of redistricting. Those are going to be my focuses, to try to make sure we're restoring the balance of power in the state and making sure that when policy decisions are made, that you have people in the room that are reflective of where voters are in the state. And with the way things have gone the last 5 years, I don't believe that's the case.
We're going to come back to the whole idea of redistricting. Over the past couple of weeks, I've talked to two of your Democratic colleagues who have some ideas on that. But first, let's talk about this job that you have taken on. The chairman of the party has multiple jobs that they have to do, multiple hats that you have to wear. Everybody knows you got to spend a lot of time fundraising.
Right.
Politics is an expensive business. But what do you have to do to build the spirit of Michigan Democrats? Because this is my estimation, and you do not have to concur with this. But after this last election cycle, when there was a lot of optimism, on the Saturday before the election, I was right down the street, and candidate Schauer was here, and I was talking to longtime activists who said, we can do this, we're going to do this, we've got the numbers in the House, we think we can pick up some in the Senate. Election night turned out to be something quite different. Is there a certain amount of going back and saying, all right, let's regroup and let's get this thing back on track?
Absolutely. I think one of the things I've tried to stress to people is that we're at a pretty bad point in terms of where the Democratic Party is in Michigan, because we really control none of the levers of government in the state. And that's really the measure of a success of a party, is getting people elected to be able to influence policy. So we have to be very realistic, and I've talked about building a 10-year plan for the party, engaging in a strategic planning process where we look, what do we want the party to be, where do we want it to be after the next round of presidential elections, and then going into 2024. And I think you have to have good expectations, but they have to be measured and reasonable so that people don't have an over expectation that if you can't reach it in 2 years or 4 years, that it demoralizes people. We have a lot of opportunities in 2016, 2018, and 2020, but we got to get the fundamentals right and the building blocks at the county and local level to make sure that activists and others understand that it's not just about winning this one election, it's about building a farm team, it's about building a structure within the state where we can succeed cycle after cycle. So that's kind of the approach I'm bringing, to build consensus around building a plan that we can all buy